All right. Good morning, everyone. I guess I'm doing the intro. You got the Bear Show picnic basket today. Brian's in the hangout too. He's recovering from a fun-filled weekend with all the boys. But for the next hour, you've got me here. So we're going to dissect the market. We're going to talk about a little bit of equity market, broader market, some crypto, maybe peruse some of these photos of the fun-filled weekend that Brian had and we'll dive in. I don't know if Brian wants to come off mute and say hi to everyone, but if he does, feel free to chime
Hey,
in.
everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear
Flamingo.
you. How's it going?
Oh, can't complain. Reporting in off of the cell phone, so don't have any screens to share with people, but I'll be more than happy to give you my 2 cents. It's current bid about 0.0001. And if I understand correctly, we just discovered who Satoshi Nakamoto is, huh? Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We've got a celebrity that's been born through TRI that I guess he's been popularized by Reddit, and that would be our very own Da Vinci. So congratulations to him. People were taking notice from some of his videos that he's been making all along. I think he's been making videos since 2011. He's like, Bitcoin's going to be big. You guys need to buy it. And all of a sudden, it's like Reddit has found this new treasure trove of golden advice, which I'm so happy for Da Vinci because I remember I went through the program and Da Vinci was just after me, and the both of us went through such a growing process to get to where we are now. It's just so cool to see. This guy's like he really is a celebrity on Reddit. So if you want to check out the thread, you can. I guess you can follow his Twitter. He's got that posted there. Let me see if I can bring that up here. But
Yeah, I could retweet that, but I didn't actually see a tweet or any. Oh, I guess is that it right there?
yeah, this is him. And then I guess we could probably load the Reddit thread just to show. I think it's got like a couple hundred comments on the thing right now. Yeah. He's
Oh, that's
got
good.
yeah, he's got 364 comments and everyone's just dissecting his videos like you were right about this but wrong about that and you knew how to do this
Uh,
but didn't know how to do that. It's like
uh,
I almost feel for the guy. It must be frustrating to have your entire the entire library of your videos being picked apart to figure out how credible you are. I mean, it's just, it's crazy, but I'm sure he's having a blast with it. So
yeah,
awesome
well,
stuff.
and I think him having drinks the other day with Antonopoulos, I think that almost like brought him to sort of people's attention. I think people are like, "Whoa, why is Antonopoulos meeting this guy?" Right? And then they probably did a little bit of searching on him. Holy shit! Oh, look what he did! Look what he did! Right? So anyway, yeah, I think probably the simplest thing that I'd want to say is congratulations, Dav. They always say, "Careful what you wish for. You might just get it good and hard." I know Dav's always wanted to be a star and to be, in the limelight. So here you go, Dav. Have fun. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that off the top. It's nice to see TRIers getting accolades.
Yeah, totally, totally. So let's talk a
So,
little bit about you, Brian. You guys had quite the
oh,
weekend here. Looks
yeah,
like
well, I really wanted to, especially for one of our gentlemen who was in our crew. He's kind of had bad memories of coming to LA, so I wanted to make sure he got just stuffed full of really fun activities. So we went up and did the Hollywood sign and the Griffith Observatory and all that. And we rented bikes and went down Santa Monica Pier and the boardwalk and did the Venice Beach thing. And yesterday we went deep sea fishing off the coast of California. That used to be one of my favorite activities when I was a kid. And everybody all like because I got five of us Kavarkanators there. The mayor of Vienna made it, and then Andrew and Reza and myself. And the irony of it all is that all the locals, they would have never taken the boat out if it wasn't for us. We sort of saved the day. But the locals, they were all happy that we came. So it was a win-win all around, and we really helped the little local economy because they wouldn't have gone out without us. So we had a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And the interesting thing is when we were out on the water, people are like, wow, this is the last thing I would have ever thought of doing if I come to Los Angeles. But it was one of my favorite childhood memories.
That's great. So what do you guys have planned for today and tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're heading back, so we're winding up the trip. But actually, if you put on that Twitter page that meetup, yeah, right there. If you scroll down to the little video that I did, the meetup, the gentleman right on the right hand side of that video, he was one of our OGers. There he is, there in the dark blue and black outfit there, Sean Collins. And Jason, I don't know whether you can see Jason in that picture, but both of them, they have a huge LA group here. So they came out to the meetup, and then they want us to go down to hang out at Mr. Ver's playpen, which I thought was interesting. This might be an ambush because maybe he's going to be there and he's going to say, I wanted to confront you face to face. I'm not a dick. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, Sean invited us down to, and I think I posted the link. I don't know whether I think I posted in the Telegram group. So if any of the people that are in the LA Telegram group, but like I said, I'm on my cell phone, so I can't really do it. But if you want to grab that link and post it in the Rocket Chat, the lounge, I can do it afterward. But we're going down to basically it's like an internet cafe that's all about Bcash, and it's all about it's basically it's Roger Ver's like LA sort of connection. So Sean wanted me to go down there and check it out, so that's what we're doing this afternoon.
Cool.
Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
I think Mr. Ver is not allowed in the country, or he renounced his citizenship, one of the two that makes it
Oh,
difficult
really?
for him to come in. So I'd be surprised if you saw him, but there's always that possibility. And just, yeah, it'd be interesting if you did confront him, make sure somebody's recording for me. Love to watch that.
Oh goodness. No, Brian would be a diplomat. I'd be polite. But there was a guy who was fucking casting right over top of me on the damn boat yesterday, and I kind of lost it on him. I was getting pissed off. So I still got that piss and vinegar in my belly.
Yum.
Anyway, lots of fun. So yeah, we'll do a report, take pictures, the whole thing. Because when I was in Europe, I did the Vitalik pose in front of his office in Zug. So I don't know. I don't know what the Ver pose is. And then really the question is, who does this place belong to? Does it belong to Ver or does it belong to Craig Wright now? I don't know. And it'll be interesting to get their take on the story when I go there today. So it should be a lot of fun.
I think the pose is you have to face the office or house of Roger Ver, point
And flip
your
on the
finger.
bird.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
go, fuck
standard,
you.
the standard Bcash greeting.
Of course. In fact, we'll all do it, right? Because there's about 4 or 5 of us going down, so we'll all do it in unison.
Just be
We'll all do
careful.
we'll all do the Roger Ver greeting.
You could call it the
That should make
Bcash
a really
salute.
that should make a really funny meme.
Yes.
All right, I'm babbling here, so I'll put myself on mute. What's happening in the stock market? Is Mr. Trump doing anything new, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah. Just one quick thing before we do that. Christian wanted me to remind everyone that he has a poll that he would like everyone to complete as to the date that we will be having the Vancouver meetup into summer 2019, or I guess late spring, depending on the result of the vote. I just posted that in the lounge, so if you can go ahead
That's a
and
good idea.
do
Yeah,
that.
and
It's right
I
underneath
think
the link. It's right underneath the YouTube link to the Daily Brief.
Well, that's good. And I think there is even like a Vancouver 2018 meetup room that Stuart put together. So if
Yeah,
you do have ideas and suggestions, just pop into that room and post. But yeah, a nice poll. I do understand the German efficiency. They want to get this stuff all booked and squared away 6 months ahead of the meeting. Makes sense. Um, but yeah, that's a good idea, so we can get a little bit more focused on that.
yep. And you can also search for the Meetup Vancouver 2019 room in the Rocket Chat if you want to join that as well.
Yeah.
So, with that out of the way, let's dive into some analysis and check out what markets are doing. It looks like, from what I saw on the open of the Dow, we were up almost 300 and change to the upside, and now we're down 72 points. So this thing is up and down like Brian's favorite pair of underwear. And unfortunately, we can't seem to get a definitive direction to the upside here. There's lots of talk about trade war still. I think the real market news here is that in the name of Qualcomm. So Qualcomm, and I might be a little off on some of this, so excuse me if I mix it up, but I believe Qualcomm is a company that has its proprietary information in China, and I could have that wrong, so if I am, forgive me. But it looks like China is kind of banning Apple products because and they granted some injunction against Apple from being able to sell their products in China right now. And this is all because of this trade war. And Qualcomm is kind of stuck in the middle of it. I think there's a lawsuit as well that Apple is seeking against Qualcomm. And this is causing all kinds of issues. So if you bring up an Apple stock, this thing's like up and down as well. And right now, the question on a lot of people's minds is how does this resolve itself? So if China comes out and says that, you know, Qualcomm's hardware is intellectual property, and they rule that, you know, Apple has to play ball if they want to keep their products there, it's going to make trade war even more complicated. This is definitely something that's been spoken ad nauseum on the media channels for the last couple of days, and I think it's very much what markets are reacting to here. You can see yesterday's action. This was kind of the announcement of that lawsuit where Apple announced they're going to sue Qualcomm for not fulfilling their contractual obligations, and then it looks like today you've got another sort of like outside reversal. I mean, this is really wonky.
Is that Qualcomm's chart?
No, this is Apple.
So fire up Qualcomm's chart. That'd be interesting. QCOM, I think it is.
Yeah, so neither one, I don't think Qualcomm moved that much, but let's take a look. Qualcomm's at 57.14. Here's the Qualcomm chart. This still, I mean, it looks like it tried to take off and then
That
it got
looks like a
rejected here.
typical stock out of China. Almost all the Chinese stocks look like that right now, eh?
Yeah,
Like if you pull up Baba, does it look similar?
Alibaba.
Yeah,
Alibaba.
BABA.
Okay, Baba.
Probably looks similar.
152. Let's see if we get the same structure. Pretty close. It's trying to go and bounce to the upside after its decline since July.
And
But
here's the thing with Trump, right? Is that the global economy is so intertwined. You can't just say, all right, it has to be made in America or else you're fucked. You know, if he starts doing this, then all of these sort of little things are going to pop up. And now, you know, basically the darling story of this cycle for the United States of America could be in big trouble here, and China might just shut him right down. And yeah, I'm fearful that Mr. Trump looks at the world in sort of black and white, but really it's all different shades of gray, right?
yeah, so I
Um,
was mistaken. So Qualcomm is an American microchip maker, and
right.
evidently Qualcomm is claiming that Apple violated two of its patents that are in the iPhone 6s, 6s Plus, 7 series, 8, and the iPhone 10. But this injunction that the Chinese court granted to ban the sale and import of iPhone models excludes the newest ones that came out this year, which are the XS, XS Plus, and the XR. So this is
I
this
asked
is a huge
somebody
thing.
to, I asked somebody today who uses Apple whether they would buy the new Apple phone, and he's like, "Fuck no." So, do you think these new phones is that a play to try and get people in China to buy these new expensive phones?
I mean, it may just be China's way of encouraging its own in-house innovation. China's very much about launching its own products,
Yeah,
like
right.
the Huawei. I think most
Yeah.
Huawei phones are in China, but people love their iPhones, and I think it's going to be hard to get, even the Chinese to play ball with something like that. The question
Do
really is,
you do the Apple?
I have done the Apple before, yes. I do
Would you
currently
buy
do the
the new
Apple
one?
as well.
Would you buy that new phone?
I mean, I have the iPhone X, and I mean, I like it. Would I buy the newest one? No, and that's mainly because I already have the iPhone X. I don't need, its next generation, which in my opinion isn't worth whatever price they're charging for it. And that's the issue, right?
Mm.
All these cell phone carriers have moved away from subsidizing cell phones, and now they're making you rent them. So it's like the typical millennial thing where we don't really own shit. We just rent it for a period of time. And why not add the cell phone to that? And that's what they're doing
Yeah.
now. They just charge you a monthly fee. And at the end of the 2 years or whatever it is, you give the phone back and you get the next one. And,
I think
it's,
I heard somebody here locally was talking about that. That's a really popular fad these days, and
well, we're
it's in
forced
the
into it.
market.
What it used to be was you sign up for a new 2-year contract and they'll give you like something crazy off the original price of the phone. So back in the day, these iPhones used to be like 500-600 bucks, and they'd give you $200 to $300 off the cost of the phone if you signed a 2-year agreement. Well, that's all gone. They don't do that at all
Yeah.
anymore because these things are so expensive. They've almost doubled in price at this point. Now everyone's like, oh, why would I pay so much for a cell phone? And while I don't want to go down that road too far, I will briefly say that the specifications inside my cell phone are better than my desktop computer that I've had laying around for the last 5 years. So
Mm.
really, I mean, most people don't use desktops anymore. Like the people, you guys that are listening to us, you guys are like real tech users. You're like the real, OG, maybe call it, guys who really know how to use technology. But like my parents' generation, they're happy with like their iPads and their iPhones. Like, what do they need a computer for? They just check their email, send some text, and look at porn. Like, what else is there for you to use a laptop or anything other you'd need a laptop for? So I
Mm.
don't know. I think it's interesting that people make that argument, but I do also think that the price has certainly been going up, and it's a tough pill to swallow, especially when you see discretionary income for a lot of Americans not at the same level that the Federal Reserve thinks it's at. And it's unfortunate, but we're still seeing consumer debt rising to new highs. We're just seeing all kinds of shortcomings in the consumer side that really aren't translating to what the Fed is supposedly seeing. And that's going to lead the Fed to make a decision. And we've already talked about the interest rate decision, but I think that's being priced in across the markets right now. And really, what's going to drive this market forward is their guidance as to what they do in 2019. So you've got Apple, you've got Microsoft, you've got Fed decisions looming, you've got trade war, you've got all kinds of these big name guys making calls in the market that are either horribly wrong and misinformed or very well timed and very well informed. And it's just, you really have to know what to pay attention to. And if you've learned through the program how to read technical charts, you can pretty much make your decisions without having to listen to these guys. They're cheerleaders, right? So no need to listen to this kind of stuff. But I mean, let's kind of look at the market and see what's really going on here. I did have a Dow chart up, and I think the interesting thing to look at really is the S&P, because yesterday's headline was that the S&P broke key support, and everybody was all about this 2603 level. And yesterday the S&P fell through that, hitting a low of 2583, and that's right into our reload zone. So maybe that was the move that needed to come before this thing starts marching higher. But you can see the potential for another Mr. Smiley face coming in. And this to me is quite frightening to see, because this would be a perfect double top here. And of course, this is going to be backwards.
You got to take the magnet thing off.
Yeah, I'm just going to make really crazy looking eyes.
Oh,
So
you got cute little arches.
yeah, I guess I
The
like using
golden
the
arches. That's what
golden
we should start
arches.
calling
So there you have it. You've got your potential smiley face coming in here. I mean, if you're going by candle wicks and tails, this definitively made a new low. So this is a top here. I, of course, like to wait for my candle body closes. So this is close to confirming. If we did get a candle below this 26, call it 26 and a quarter, then I would say the top is, I mean, the top's in up here. And the fact that we couldn't get past Mountain Man, that to me is a very bearish signal.
Yeah,
So this market
heavy.
yeah, really heavy. This market needs to clean itself up. The problem is that everyone probably has their chart zoomed in like I do, and they're just looking like, oh my God, it violated that level. Okay, well, you've got a couple more levels to work with. And then, of course, this trend line is broken here. So this is another key thing. I expect the underside of this trend line to be, oh, it looked like it was tested. So there you have it. This thing was tested once and slap back down again. So you've got two more levels to work with here. That would be this low here at 25 and a half and this low at 25 and a quarter. And then technicians are going to start zooming out. And once they start zooming out, I mean, you're talking, you start discovering the nosebleed territory this market's been in for a while. So they're going to be looking for some serious downside targets if we do breach those levels. So we're not quite at 38.2 of this whole range. You can see that, you know, if I take my low of this range from 1800 and the high is at about, what do we call that, 29 and a half, 38.2 is sitting just below 2500. So we haven't really tested that at all. So if the market wants to come down there, that's your real first test. Is this a bear market? Are we sort of going into, or are we already in recession resolution level? And that's what I'm going to wait to see resolve itself once we get in that area. Am I slapping on any puts here? Not yet, because we're at the end of the year. We're going into a Fed decision. It looks like they're just kind of cleaning up the market, shaking out people who might have gone long. I think all this action is very much predicated on, again, that Fed decision and the verbiage that they use next week. That's going to be on the 18th.
Can you pull up JP Morgan? Did it M out?
Yeah, so banking stocks have still not been doing well through all this. Let's see if they got hit any harder here. Yeah, this looks like it's losing its lunch too. Wow.
Yeah, okay, so the M is confirmed, eh?
Yeah, that's confirmed on Friday, I suppose. So that came in Thursday, and then Friday we pushed down, and here we've got, this is an engulfing bar of this candle body. There's that deep tail there, so I don't know if you'd consider that, but that certainly looks bearish. I mean, we can bring up some Goldman Sachs and see
if you like pull up like a weekly or monthly, right? These are starting to look like very long-term tops in the market.
Yeah, that's another thing. So if you do want to play these things, I mean, once you get these weekly double tops coming in, I mean, I have no problem going out and shopping for like 6 months to at least 6 months to a year's worth of time on a put, and just hold that thing as insurance, especially on a name like this. Probably also, let's see what Goldman Sachs is looking at.
My hunch is just exactly like Bitcoin has come right back down. I think the whole damn stock market could basically come right back down to the levels we saw 2015, 2016.
Yeah, and that would crush so many people that, you know, have already been crushed in the crypto market if they also have stock portfolios. I mean, I couldn't imagine having to deal with both of those losses in the same time period. That would be soul crushing.
I got a call coming in here, so I'm gonna have to put myself on mute. Hold on a second.
All right, say hi for me. So, I mean, this is Goldman Sachs here, and you can see this has already come off precipitously. This is a weekly chart. You've got your head and shoulders. I think we went over this last week, but same deal. This is actually coming into a level for me. I would not be shorting on a weekly basis here. I think that this would need to lose this sort of level, which I'm drawing my lows from. And let's see if I can get this to stick. That's the problem with this heading. I don't know why TradingView doesn't let me drag my mouse there. So anyway, we're coming into a reload zone. We're in between 78.6 and Mountain Man. So no surprise that this is probably going to start to slow down to the downside. There's a little bit of a lot of support actually down here around 165. So I'd be looking for some reversals. Wondering if the daily showing anything other than making new lows. So I'd be again just I would be careful with this one shorting. That looks like it's kind of made the most of its move there to the downside. I guess we're probably getting toward the end of this half hour, and I do want to talk a lot about crypto. So maybe we should talk about what's going on in the dollar and the euro and gold and see how those are behaving. It looks like the dollar is trying to recapture its original trend line here. I'm not sure what's causing this dollar bullishness, but the fact is this thing is trying to put in a bottom. You can see the first bottom here, second bottom sort of over here. And if you imagine this is your neckline, this may continue moving higher. And if that's the case, there's way more pain for the euro, and that would mean that gold's going to start coming off. Interestingly, gold did not make its way up to the 200 period moving average or to the completion of this ABCD that we've had on this chart since I think Thursday or Friday. So maybe the dollar is just fluttering around and you just need a couple more weekdays for this to actually hit its target. And again, I think we're coming into most profit objectives before the Fed meeting. So I would just be careful about taking any positions right now because I think the markets are already moving toward the completion of their objectives before that comes in. And interestingly, the euro is also obviously moving to the opposite direction that the dollar is, and this didn't really come close. This is, I don't know if that's 66% of this move. That'd be interesting to see. So this looks like, get a little bot template on here. And I guess I have to reverse this, but it looks pretty close. So this tagged the six, so there you go, 2/3. So if you had your stop to break even or you're going to take profits at 66%, you would have taken profits on this trade, and you're probably happy you did at this point. But I don't think that this is definitively broken down just yet. It does certainly look weak. And you know what? The reason why you've got that relative strength in the dollar is because of the news that came out from England today, in that they're delaying the vote on these Brexit proceedings. And I don't think the market's like that. You can see, I'll bring up a chart of the of cable, the British pound to the dollar, and this thing's hovering around 1.25 right now. And that is a new low for, I believe, the year. So if we scroll out to about January, yeah, so this thing hasn't been in this level for about a year and a half now. So the last time we visited this was early 2017. We'd gotten as low as about, call it 119. And I think this was during the Brexit vote, if I'm not mistaken. That's what caused the initial lows. This is where I'm actually drawing my fibs off of. And our highs are going to be right in here. So if you look as to where we could potentially be bottoming again, looks like we're coming into a level. So I don't know if this is a trade to take right now, but in the face of all this bearish news from Brexit and the relative weakness in Europe that you're seeing, and of course you've got these issues in France that probably aren't helping things from the currency strength standpoint of the euro, that's probably be where the dollar strength is coming from. You've got a lot of people running into the dollar, kind of fearful of what's going on in Europe, and that kind of makes sense, especially given the landscape here. So
did you look at gold? What's it doing this morning?
Yeah, I already touched on gold. Do you want to look at it again?
No, I missed it.
Okay. I mean, gold just at 1244. It hasn't really broken down, but hasn't reached its objective to the upside. Was what
that British pound looks like a bear flag. That could be ugly. And actually, I could see a bear flag forming on that gold too. Is that gold you have on the chart there now?
Yeah, this is gold.
Yeah, so I could, and really, how ironic. It's incredible how history repeats itself. So is it going to be Brexit that causes the US dollar index to go absolutely insane to the upside? Is it going to be the Fed raising rates that's going to cause the US dollar index to go to the upside? Is it like Canadian real estate market collapsing and the Chinese market collapsing, and so the Australian dollar, the commodity currencies collapse? Is that what's going to cause the US dollar to go to the upside? But the long and short of it here is, And I didn't hear your commentary, and I haven't looked at the U.S. dollar index, but my hunch is that son of a bitch is going higher.
Yeah, we haven't broken out from our highs at 97.69, but we are
Did they
getting close.
recapture your trend line?
They have. So if we close today, they've recaptured that trend line.
They don't want to give that up.
Right, which is interesting because I think based on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but for as far as trend line breakdown confirmation, you need two consistent closes below a trend line. Is that right?
Well, most people like two consecutive like closes, like they call it confirmation bar. But for a trade, me personally, I love the Lien, and we used to call it Ron Jeremy setup, where you actually have structure form on the other side of the trend line. So until that structure comes in on the other side of the trend line, I would still say it's playing with the trend line. But
Yeah, it's interesting. So it really, as far as a confirmation, it got really close. You got one full day below it, and then you had 2 days in between it where they were just kind of toying with it. And today we're pushing
yeah.
again. So again, that's
So, and I
weakness.
mean, fundamentally, does it really make sense to get too bearish of the dollar if the Feds are continuing to say that they're going to raise interest rates? I don't understand how you can get bearish of the dollar in the face of that. And if anything, what I'm really worried about here is there's a nasty trap being laid in the gold market. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a wait and see on that. So should we
How's your have you looked at silver lately? How's your little silver doing these days?
Yeah, I've been meaning to try to take a trade on this thing, but it's not giving me anything just yet. I mean, I had a W working here, but I've been in transit for the last couple of days, and trading for me is a no-no when I'm jet lagged and French fried. So I try to keep away from any kind of rash decisions when I'm in a different time zone, which I am over here in
Oh,
Europe, getting
that's
ready
smart.
for that UK meetup. So I'm pretty excited for that. But I mean, as far as taking a trade here, I can't. I don't see anything just yet, especially
It's
if the dollar continues its strength higher. Silver is just going to keep trading in this range, and this really has established a range before 13, between 13, call it 13.11, and this area here at 14. So we've got a 90-cent playground, but it's not
yeah.
really something I'm going to toy with.
What's copper looking like these days? HG?
HG Wells.
HG, where's James? Here's our copper guru.
Yeah, copper's
Uh,
kind of looking similar to silver, stuck in this range here.
yeah.
And even funny, this looks a lot like the silver or the gold range that it was stuck in before it broke out.
Mm.
Just kind of sideways, nothing going on here.
Yeah, well, they're probably also waiting for the new Congress to come in to sort of, dictate, because the Democrats, what ends up happening here? Do we end up in some horrific, like, did you see that recent thing? Like one of Trump's cronies I think he just got convicted or something. But I just quickly read the headline, and he was expecting Trump to come to his rescue. And when Trump didn't, he just like totally turned. You say turncoat? How does that work? Anyway, and man, I would be fearful for Mr. Trump because now he has his insiders testifying against him. So maybe all these markets are just sort of sitting there humming and hawing and waiting for that shoe to drop. I don't know. Tough one.
Always a drama-filled presidency, no doubt. But
Yeah. What did the grains do? Did they follow through on that breakout from that Trump's trade stuff?
I'm
Because
not sure. Do you mind if we move to crypto there? We're about 40 minutes in.
no, yeah, I'm wasting everybody's time. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
you're not
ahead.
wasting everyone's time. We can
Crypto
talk
hasn't
range
really been
tomorrow.
doing much lately, has it?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know
ever
a
since you
couple of the
left.
boys here have been saying they banged off a few doubles, which tickles me pink. I love to hear that talk. But
What does it
Bitcoin.
look like, guys, when Brian gets tickled pink? Does anyone want to tell us?
It looks like that picture from the fishing trip. Oh goodness! I don't know. I think Joshua. Well, Somebody took that. I think Kevin took the picture and posted it in the TRI LA meetup. I don't know whether he posted it in the lounge or not. But a funny like okay, so I better shut up. Yeah, go on to crypto, please.
All right, let's just bang out the news real quick, just so that we can get into technicals. First bit here is that Coinbase is trying to get everyone in the holiday spirit, despite the, shall we call it, the slaughtering that we've seen in price over the last couple of weeks. So they're going to be bringing e-gift cards and partnering with one of these companies, so that people can use crypto and buy gift cards with it, which to me is totally unlike what I would expect something like that from. I would not expect Coinbase to do that. So as far as how that's going to work, I think they're just going to add functionality into one of these websites, which this isn't Grift, because oh, here it is. So it's the WeGift site, and you link your Coinbase wallet and you can spend your crypto and buy e-gift cards. And evidently you're not going to pay any withdrawal fees, and you get a 10% bonus for converting your crypto into some of these gift cards. So, gee, I wonder why.
Isn't that defeating the whole purpose of crypto to begin with?
It'd be nice if all these retailers took crypto directly.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, cool.
So
Awesome.
there's the Coinbase holiday present, if you even want to call it that. The next thing here is, I already talked about that. So let's kind of jump in and talk about this mining situation. So there was a link posted in the lounge yesterday that showed off a miner's operation. And it was this individual, this guy, who was talking about how he built up his mining business, and he was very successful. He was basically in tears, practically. I don't think he cried during the live stream, but he had to shut down his mining operation because it was no longer profitable. And he was talking about, for about 15 minutes, how he has to come in every day and disassemble the power supplies, take off the graphics cards. Basically, he's taking apart his entire operation. And he said his dream's been crushed. He's not the only one. I mean, this started happening back in the end of November. We talked about Gigawatt, which was one of the big crypto miners out in Washington. They declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy on November 20th, and they were one of, I think they were in the top 5 miners, at least top 3 in the US. I don't know about the world, but they were a big name, and they went bankrupt. So that was kind of the first domino to fall. And then now you're seeing all these little tiny, I wouldn't call them tiny, but some of the more medium operations, those are starting to go under as well. Now, if you bring up the Bitcoin mining difficulty chart, this is pretty staggering. There's a lot of mining, there's a lot of rigs coming offline. Here's this chart from the beginning of November. There is nothing but a decrease in difficulty going on. The hash rate has gone down. There's less miners on the network, as you can see by these blue and green lines here. This has done nothing but go down even until today, and difficulty is continually adjusting downward to make up for all these miners coming off the network. So you really have to wonder, I mean, if we're getting to the point where mining is no longer profitable and people have to disconnect their networks, what really happens here to Bitcoin? I mean, I'm not saying this thing's ending by any means, but I will say that Brian has mentioned before that once you start seeing news stories about miners going out of business, the cost of production being higher than the current spot price of Bitcoin, that's when you start to see capitulation. That's when you start to see the beginnings of the end of down moves. I'm not saying that this is the bottom by any means, but if anyone remembers this chart back when, where is it? This chart, back when Bitcoin was rising, this is the Wall Street cheat sheet, which I think everyone was adapting toward Bitcoin. And everyone's like, are we in the optimism stage, the belief stage, or the euphoria? And no one had any idea where the bottom or the top, how high the price was going to go. Everyone was just getting greedy out of their minds. And I mean, this chart is pretty similar to what a daily chart looks like. I mean, there's no doubt there's a Bitcoin chart just like there are here. And I think we're probably below the panic stage at this point. I think we're pretty close to getting into the capitulation, if not already in that stage. And I believe we're seeing that mainly because of these miners. If they can't survive in this environment, you're going to see a lack of support from those miners. I think they were also supporting price for a little bit. They would sell into rallies. They would, prevent the price from dipping too low, kind of in consortium with all the other mining groups, because they don't want to see the price go down. Now, the big question for me is, how does this affect Bitmain? And I'm not sure. I would imagine that as a big Bitcoin Cash mining corporation or system, they're probably hurting a lot because Bitcoin Cash has taken a big punch to the nose. Bitcoin has also taken a big punch in the nose. If these prices continue to go down, you have to imagine that if these little guys are going out of business, their cost of production is probably lower than it would be to have a giant factory or many factories with many employees. I would imagine that Bitmain's cost of production is at least 20 to 30% higher than where prices are now. Maybe they have a special deal with their mining operation in China and their electricity costs are a little cheaper and their labor rates are a little cheaper, which is allowing them to continue to operate, or they have spare capital. But I mean, make no mistake, this is a big issue when it comes to supporting the network. And how is this going to play out? I'm by no means an expert on this, and I have no idea. And I would just be making things up at this point. But it does make you think about, how is this network going to continue to react with more and more people coming off the network? And in my opinion, or if it were me, and I'm looking at these prices coming down and miners going off the network, I'd probably start buying up the mining rigs that they're selling off. And I'd be buying up whatever equipment they want to sell at rock bottom prices and try to.
Yeah, but I was talking to somebody today, and they said that the new ASICs equipment that's coming on literally makes all that old shit completely obsolete.
Yeah, that's the problem to
So,
buying new stuff.
I mean,
But if you can get some cash
this
for
to
it,
me, I mean, it sucks, but in all honesty, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. And it's painful and it's ugly, and people bitch at me because I point out that Mr. Penis Eater said his cost of production was $1,000. I've also seen reports online that show that their cost of production is like 2,000, 2,500 US dollars. So, really, when we'll know the bottom is? We'll know the bottom is when we start hearing people talking about the ability to do a 51% attack on Bitcoin. I don't know what level that has to come in, but that's my opinion. That's what I've said all along, and I think I'm going to stick to that story. So,
yeah,
sucks, but if anything, this is so natural. And if you haven't been through this before, remember, all the OGs on the site, we've been through exactly the same thing before. And what really bugs me, and it doesn't bug me, it worries me, is that in 2014, we had one gentleman in particular freak out and panic and dump into the ultimate lows. And I think that's what has to happen here. Like you said, we're very, very close to despair. Obviously, a lot of people's hopes and dreams of mining Bitcoin at 5, 10, $20,000 and just making a shitload of money. Those dreams are being dashed right now. And this is actually just ironically enough, and I know it sucks everybody, but this is actually very normal. I don't see anything out of the ordinary here. And the only thing that cures this is time. Sucks. Remember, how long is a typical bear market? I think somebody said something like that.
what are we at right now? We're like 12 months in, right?
Well, what is it? December? Yeah, 12. So how many more do we got to go?
Too many to count. We're on the Josh
Yeah.
Ramen diet.
And I gotta say, I had the privilege to meet Joshua, and man, he is a cool guy. Totally awesome dude. He's
That's
he's
awesome.
as funny in person as all his memes. Uh,
Yeah, so I mean, to go along with the fact that miners are leaving the space and we may be in the capitulation, if not the anger stage, maybe even close to the anger stage. I think both of these are much closer together than this chart is indicating here. And that's
Yeah,
mainly
that's
because,
that's a chart that one gentleman in particular was really touting a few years ago. I don't know if it's his or not, but that's his. There is another really cool sort of bull bear cycle chart that's a little less sort of fluffy than that one that I've been putting out. When I get back into town, I suppose I'll repost it and all that shit. Um, but yeah, I would say, just eyeballing it, it looks to me like and notice the sort of the right-hand side of the chart. It's a long, slow grind of death there right at the end, eh? Before that W finally comes in. And that's where I think we are. I don't think we're in this sort of face rip, market just is cranking straight down phase anymore. We're now in that sort of long, slow grind to finally break, these people's souls.
yeah, and that's happening on Twitter. There are people that are getting pissed off at the world, starting to
Yep,
blame people for,
yep.
doing things they weren't. Like there was this article that came out about Rand Neuner, who was accused by this guy on Twitter who's got like a ton. I don't know who he is. Larry Cermak, Lawmaster is his Twitter handle, and he
Mm.
claims that Rand Neuner bought $1.3 million of this blockchain terminal company and sold it to other people to get a sweet deal and profit when he knew the company was crappy. And you just have like all kinds of stuff like
Oh,
this.
the lawsuits are gonna just be fucking going crazy here now.
Yeah, that's the other
So,
unfortunate.
this is a warning because, we've got a fairly respectable community here. I know a lot of you people are actually sort of like in the business of crypto. Just, man, take some time and make sure your ass is covered. You didn't promise anybody anything. And if you did promise somebody, my advice is give that fucking money back now and save yourself a world of headaches. Because the next 6 months is now we're into people, when they lose money, they start out, they're in shock and disbelief. No, 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 this is temporary. It'll go back up, right? Then they get into sort of acceptance, and that comes into like sort of depression. And I'm very upset. Like I heard talk to somebody about master nodes recently, and they're just like they're 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 just really depressed that this sort of dream of investing in all these master nodes and just getting paid this income is sort of falling apart. We'll soon enter the anger phase and resentment and bitterness and vengefulness phase. And this is where it gets tough. So all of us TRIers, super important you just crank up the PMA now, right? And if anything, you have to be empathetic with these people. You will run into them. Like I see Shane's picture down here in the hangout. I know he's going to be running into these people right, left, and center. And you just have to somehow be empathetic for these people. And they're going to be angry and they're going to be bitter and they're going to be resentful. And somehow you have to just turn that around and say, look at how can we use this as a learning experience? Let's not try and do this again. Because there will be. I mean, I got to tell you guys, I've been in this damn game 30 years. This isn't anything new. I've seen this like at least 5 or 6 different times. There will be future cycles. It will come, but just not right now. Okay? Um, all right, that's Brian's rant. Sorry about that.
We needed it. Every one of us is kind of watching this market, and while I'm a trader and I range trade, it still is not fun to see. So I guess we should probably look at some of these technicals and maybe try
Sure.
to hunt if there's any kind of short-term reversals coming in. And really, as Brian said, since he left for California, the market really hasn't done much since his departure. We've kind of been stuck in this range where the market did rally up, and this was the
Is that
9th of
okay coin
December.
you're looking at?
It is. Do you want me to look at another chart for you?
Oh no, this is your bread and butter. It's just some of these charts are looking disconnecty to me now. The only thing I'll say is we did have some levels on OKCoin, if I remember off the top of my head, and since the floor of the market fell out there, the next harmonic level I think is a crab, and it's somewhere around 2950 or so. So until that level's hit, I'm not really expecting any kind of reversal. Um, and what's OKCoin sitting at right now? Is that an hourly chart? I mean, I'm on a cell phone, so I can't even really see what you're looking at.
Yeah, so we've kind of seen the market go playing in between these two purple lines. If you take a daily view of my chart here, it is interesting to watch that these two purple lines are just old support and resistance areas. And this,
Hmm.
let me just make this full screen here so we don't strain our eyes too much.
Yeah,
But
that's is that like 6,000 or something like that? The old support has now turned into resistance.
no, so the purple lines that were kind of were like range bound, right, between these two areas. So this was an old support level that I had drawn back in 2017, and then this other area here was the last time the market broke out above 3,200. So
Mm.
we've been stuck between these two key levels, and interestingly enough, they still are coming into play on the lower time frames. So while we did kind of breach below that lower trend, that lower support line at 3,200 and dip briefly into 3,000. We did recapture it and then rally, counter trend rally, and we exactly touched this fucking line. So who's looking at my charts? Because this is crazy. I mean, I don't think I'm the one that put the top into that market, but that was, that is a key level
But
here.
that is so that's our level two program, right? Horizontal support and resistance. And what's really interesting, I don't even think you realized it, but you could have done exactly the same thing on that damn British pound. And the British pound collapsed, and we say institutions can't sell down markets. They rallied the British pound, and I noticed that the rally basically exhausted itself right at the place where people should have been shorting, which tells me that the counter trend rally in the British pound was the opportunity for the institutions to square up their positions and get short from the level that they're supposed to. And now they're breaking the pound to new lows, right?
Yeah,
So I think exactly the same things happened here. And this is exactly our level two program. The whole concept of horizontal support and resistance. So yeah, you're right. And what's kind of sucky about this is, they broke the market. Did they actually take out 3,000? Was it in the 2,900
no,
area on
I
your
don't think
chart?
they ever got it down below
All right.
3,000.
So, they have tried to bottom the market here off of those lower levels. They rally it right back up into, and I can't see your fibs, but is that a reload zone? I can't tell.
Yes.
But in essence, fib wise, I can also see right on the left hand side of your screen, there's a little traffic area there, and probably the high of that little traffic area corresponds with your purple line as well, but I can't really see. So. But yeah, I mean that's funny, eh? Who's looking at my charts? Damn it! Well, maybe your chart looks exactly the same as all the other professional charters out there. So if anything, that's a pat on your back, dude.
Mhm. It's funny. I had a conversation yesterday with a ex Barclays Bank forex trader who was managing their desk, and that was an awesome conversation. The guy was telling me about, he used to trade cable all the time, and we were talking about. We were watching the New York Open yesterday, and he's telling me, he goes, "Oh, this move downward must be a liquidity hunt so that Barclays can go long into the day session and make money." And it was just, we're talking about all the tips and tricks that he used to use. They would meet up at pubs and talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. And he was telling me some old war stories. It's just awesome to talk to another trader, especially one that used to work at a bank. Just so, all the stuff that Brian tells you, it's all right. And it's exactly what all these banks are doing. And I mean, it's great that, you can see this kind of stuff in real life. You're like, oh, I've learned about this in class, but to actually have a guy talk to me about it and it being the same shit that Brian talks about, it's like mind blowing. You're like, whoa, cool. And all of a sudden you're like best friends with the guy because you know what he's talking about because you've heard Brian talk about it. You're like, yeah.
I bet you he was pretty impressed that you knew your shit.
It was a fun
That's
conversation, no doubt.
that's good. That's good. Well, way to go, dude. Right
Yeah.
on.
So, I mean, as far as levels are concerned, I mean, I'm looking at this market on an hourly basis right now. And while I like to start at the higher time frames, I think the daily isn't really giving us any signals that there's a reversal. I think if anything, it's just kind of like a outside, it's more like a reversal downward again from the other day's rally. So this
Well,
looks a
it's funny because if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, there was like a total Davo that came in there like a week or so ago, and I even tweeted out to Dav. I said, "Damn, this looks very Davo-y," and he's like, "Yep, totally." So ironically enough, the Davo short signal that fired about a week or so ago was spot on.
yeah.
Boo,
So
hiss, hiss, boo. And you know what? A really cool thing, like one of the guys on the trip here, and I was really fortunate. I think it was meant to be. Reza has actually built an integration so we can take the Davos signals that Sen has put on the platform and that are reported in that room. We can now, Reza is going to build a little mini course that everybody on the site can take. And he's going to take you step by step by step how to tell your computer how to take that Davos signal automatically and basically trade the market, so you can just watch the market passively and take these signals. Man, this site, I have a funny feeling 2019 we're gonna finally give you all these tools that we've been talking about forever. And it's just gonna take our trading to the next level. I'm so stoked.
me
Okay, I
too.
better shut up. So go ahead, continue with your analysis.
Yes, I mean, as
Sorry,
far as
sorry.
any reversals, I don't think that we're in the range yet. I mean, this is trying to do something. I mean, as far as a real break above the 3,500 level, I think that's at least a couple days away. And then breaking to new lows, really this could happen at any moment at this point. So much more likely to go to the downside as far as I'm concerned for today than we are to the upside. Of course, Willie's been very over.
Bias must still be very negative, eh?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what we're
You know
seeing.
what? Somebody on the site wrote this really cool script that has like all the moving averages, all the different biases, Brian's moving average. I don't know who wrote that script, but it's such a cool script. So anyway, thought I'd just
So
mention
as
that.
far as the 4 hours concerned, I think the 4 hours got some pain left in it. This has recharged itself to the downside. This was your reload zone to get short. I don't think anyone would be able to fire off a short there unless this was like into New York kill zone. So what is this? 10 o'clock, and we're currently 10 o'clock. I don't even know what time zone this chart is showing me. But anyway, the 4 hour looks weak. This looks like it's put in a top. If you can imagine, here's one top. This looks like, a shitty looking M. And then if you want to take the wider view, this looks like a larger top here. And I'll show that with this. So you've got one high here and then call your second high like this. Ooh, okay, that was fun. You move this to here, and I think you've got two distinct areas that look like tops. And goodness, this is dancing all around my screen. And anyway, this is your neckline here at 3,300, and a break below that area signifies that there's more pain to go. And sure enough, we are closing underneath that neckline. We're testing it right now. These moving averages are about to it looks like they were trying to cross bullishly, but now they're uncrossing again. So if this does confirm on this 4 hour candle, I'll probably take a short here and look for tests into this candle tail here. But I mean, there's no divergence, and the real reasons for a trade are iffy on the 4 hour. So you should probably go and look at the 1 hour and see what that looks like. And interestingly, the hourly is showing us a different story. The hourly showing us the beginnings for some kind of bounce, but we don't have any structure. We don't have any confirmed divergence, but they're starting to come in and they're trying to come in. So As far as firing off a short, like I was saying, I want to see on the 4 hour. Now I'm not going to take that trade. So you can just see into my mind how this thing's working. And as I unfold, I see, ooh, 4 hour looks ripe, but there's no real reason for that short other than a market structure top, which to me is just one reason in of itself. And sometimes, I mean, I would like to see much more kind of more signals coming in on the bearish side on the 4 hour than just that top. And then here on the hourly, you're seeing the opposite side of that. So maybe we have to kind of play around with this area and kind of clean up the hourly because it's been oversold to the downside for a bit here over the last couple hours.
Yeah.
Maybe a
If
little
that div comes in, I would just cool your jets.
if
Looks
what's
like
that?
that div, sure. Like if you can you maximize your MACD screen there?
Maximize the MACD. You
Yeah,
got it.
there you go. So if that ticks up through that middle part of that, that's gonna form a W, eh? So I don't know, man. I think you got to let this thing. Well, if that div does come in, then I think you got to cool your jets if you're a bear. And you know
Yeah.
what I think they're gonna do here? You know, like your purple lines are perfect. I think they're just gonna set up a range here, get a whole bunch of people to take positions. And so once they sort of feel like this range is filled out and a whole bunch of people have gotten comfortable in the range, then they're going to knock either one side or the other. So, probably a nice little test against those lows. Probably. And what I'm worried about, right, is that that's a little FU against those lows. Yeah, if you're slick and you're really fast, you could maybe make a few bucks on that. But then that's going to set up a rally back up to test the top end of the range, especially if this bullish divergence comes in here. So,
Yep. So there you have it. A little
tough,
change.
tough. That's a tough one.
It is. So I again, like you saw in the 4 hour to the 1 hour, I'm not sure that that short is on the table just yet. It might take a little bit of time to develop. So if anything, instead of hunting short setups, I'm probably hunting long setups, like Brian pointed out. Wait for the MACD to confirm, wait for your structure, and maybe you get a nice pop. But the problem is you're really working with a decreasing range
Yeah.
and you're really looking for a rally, and the first test is going to be 38.2. That's not really much higher from where we are. So that's about, I don't know, what, 40, where are we, 33.25. So you're talking about an $80 move to the upside before that needs to be resolved further at 38.2. So, I mean, if you fired off something that broke, let's say this is the neckline here, if that actually comes in, then maybe you could risk that. I mean, $80 is probably 20% on 10x margin, which, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I certainly like better risk reward. And I'm not sure that we could
What
probably, maybe we can get to
can
Mountain End
you can you
200
draw
moving average.
can you
What do you
draw a
want?
trend line? Can you draw a trend line off of those two lows? Um, from yeah, where trend line, yeah, off of that, yeah, that low and the next low and project that. That's probably where the market's going to find some support. All right, so we're right there now. This is a really important battle zone here.
Yeah.
So if we get now, you know, I like the idea of the market coming up and testing. Is that the 30 SMA or is it a 50? I can't tell. But
The red line?
I like the idea of the market coming up, testing that moving average, testing the underside of this trend line. Now, if it's strong enough, it will push through that trend line and the moving average. That will force the MACD to go to confirm that bullish divergence. And then, like I said, I think, if you're a bear, you got to cool your jets.
Yeah,
If we
so
come up to this,
let's assume this actually needs to put in market structure. So we're looking at about call it 3 to 4 more candles, which is going to put us 1, 2, 3, 4, which is going to put us to about here. So we haven't
yeah,
quite made it to 38.2 just yet. So I'm
uh,
wondering if this is going to take, 6 to 8 hours to resolve before this
yeah,
thing has to
yeah.
move up. But then
And
that'll
really,
kind
what
of,
day is today, right? Today's Tuesday? Or is
yes.
today Wednesday? Today's Tuesday, right? So my hunch is, and this is what I kind of think is going to happen. They're gonna bring it back to the moving average to 38.2. Then they're going to dump it into the London kill zone tonight, down against your lower purple line. If the bullish divergence confirms, then I think that that dump into the purple line tonight through the London kill zone, Wednesday London kill zone, will actually be a buying window. And really, I think it's all predicated on whether that MACD histogram confirms a divergence here. But that's my, so if anything, if you want to put on your chart Brian's crazy prediction, a squiggly line theory for the win. I think we squiggle up a little bit here, then squiggle down against your purple line and through the London kill zone tonight and tomorrow's New York Open. That's some sort of pivot bottom. So let's see what happens. That's my theory.
How's that look?
All right, so leave it on there and make fun of me tomorrow how terribly wrong I was.
I'm just impressed that you can see all this on your cell phone, but I won't hold you.
That's crazy, eh? I'm like squinting. I need my magnifying glass.
Oh, yeah, I could have just done that. Maybe you would have seen it better.
Huh? What's that?
I should have just done this, and then you could have seen it better.
Oh, it's all good. You're doing awesome, man. You're fucking kicking ass.
Thanks.
I have no idea. I'm probably wasting everybody's time. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet. But we've done a pretty good job here this morning, I think.
Yeah, I wish you guys had a bottle out and Brian could take shots for
shots?
Keyword for whatever we wanted to pick, and Brian just takes a shot every time he says it. I should have thought of that before. That would have been
Says
funny.
what am I saying too much?
No, I mean we just pick a word, and whatever you say, you got to take a shot. Or if
Riz is getting, for the record, Riz is getting really pissed off that I keep saying sorry all the time.
Well, there we go. We could just use sorry. Every time you say sorry, you got to rip a shot. Anyway.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you're seeing on Ethereum and Litecoin, and then maybe we'll send these people on the way. I'll put myself on mute to try and to stay focused here.
I mean, here's the thing. These are all predicated on what Bitcoin is doing, and I don't see any reason why Ethereum would rally without Bitcoin rallying first. The market cap of most of these ERC20 tokens is now under 100 million, and it is decreasing as we, decreasing as we speak. So any kind of relative strength coming into this market would shock me without it coming into Bitcoin. As far as levels are concerned, same deal here on Ethereum, same potential divergence. Got to wait for structure to come in. There's still some time to go before this comes in, but you can see that shorters are coming out of the woodwork on Ethereum on the hourly, so I would assume that the daily probably still has strong shorting, and that is certainly still true here on Ethereum. I didn't actually look at this on Bitcoin, see if we're seeing the same thing. Shorts outnumber longs. Let's see what the daily looks like. And shorts still outnumber longs as well. So, I mean, at some point, these are going to need to be squeezed. I don't know if that time is now. I certainly think it's going to come down the line. But once that does happen, those guys that shorted, they're going to wish they didn't or wish they took profits. But as far as any targets are concerned, I just think you follow the same methodology to Bitcoin. There is one thing that we do look at, which is the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. And as far as that coming into a bottom, let me see, do I even have these fibs on here? Yeah, so here we go. Take a nice long zoom out here. And you can see we're below 78.6 coming into 88.6, and we're kind of playing around with this area right in here. And then I think like way back in the day, there was talk about this tail needing attention, and this freaking tail goes all the way down to 0.0106. So that's even more than half from where we are now in order for that tail to be eaten. So maybe that's what needs to happen before this market can bounce back. I don't know. I just know that things don't look good. There are no bottoms.
I wonder if that bearish bot level. I wonder if anybody's been following that chart that I did for the Ethereum BTC. I wonder if that bearish bot level has been hit. It was like 0.02 something, if I'm not mistaken.
So you're bearish. Hold on, let me just adjust my fibs, and I would like to get that up on my.
I think it's the next yeah.
So were you using here to here as your AB?
No, the next leg.
So this
one
to there.
to there. Yeah.
All right, let's see what that looks like.
Sorry, everybody. I took Thomas on another tangent again.
Well, this will be interesting to see because if we're at any kind of objectives on something like this, we got to know. So that takes us to about 0.017.
0.17. Okay, and I think you said that other objective was 0.01 something, right?
Yeah, that the bottom end of that past tail, oops, come back. Bottom end of this tail is sitting at 0.01. Come on, let's see, 0.0.
Totally sucks how, like, I remember in the summer I did those levels and people are like, "You're crazy, man, you're crazy." And now here fucking is playing out. I hate that. I hate when that happens.
I mean, the absolute low of this move is 0.05. Unless I have my marker on the wrong thing, but
0.015?
nope, that would be 0.009. That looks fun. Yeah, so it's less than 0.01.
All right, yeah. And you know the weird thing is Vitalik even said that, don't be surprised if it has to come all the way back down here, Oh, there you
go. It's a vomit party on this one. So that looks really gross. And then Litecoin.
But Kevin was telling me that, Kevin, you said you got a double on the flow? Yeah. So there are names that are popping up here. SPHR. I mean, he's getting, and then wasn't there one more? Core, Kore, and XEL. So, what's really cool is that if you are diligent and you are focused, there are doubles to be had in this crazy ass market.
Yeah. So I think from where I'm sitting, that's unfortunately no bottoms coming in, potential counter trend rallies, maybe on lower time frames if you're a trader and you need to trade and make money from trading. There's certainly that possibility. But if you're a long-term kind of person and you're averaging into the market, you do your nibbles, you follow your strategy, and you should be good to go when this thing finally turns around.
No hurry. Yep.
No exactly. Take your time. And this Bitcoin ABC and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision are just kind of doing their best faceplant impersonation along with Bitcoin. But interestingly, this Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is still kind of in range. It looks pretty weak right now. I wonder if something's going on there. I'll have to check on that.
Oh, yeah. And actually, it'd be really cool when I go to this place this afternoon to see what the hell they're watching there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I should. So here's one low, two lows. Maybe this needed to set up on the daily for it to come to fruition. And maybe this is our third higher low here.
Could be.
Who knows? We'll see. Time will tell. So maybe it's not too late to get in this spot if you are that person. But
and also too, like you don't have to take the trade. I mean, maybe you like Craig Wright, but I don't really like those guys, so I'm not really too enthusiastic about taking trades off of those things. But that's just me. I take a lot of this stuff personally.
So we've gone about 17 minutes after the hour. I'm pretty much done.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I'm sorry, I talked way too much. I'm sorry.
I think if you've got anything else you want to chime in, go for it.
All I'll say is, I'll post in the TRI meetup room Sean's link. The website specifically that we're going to, the place is called Crypto Space. Kavarkanator here is telling me that Joshua's been posting about this. So it's cryptospaceus.com. So we're going to be there in about 3 hours, 3-4 hours, something like that. So if you are in the LA area, this is sort of our last social get-together of the event. We'd love to see you. Come on out and let's all yell at Roger Ver together. All right, I'm done.
Please do the Bitcoin Cash salute and take a picture.
That's right. So Kevin, remind me, we have to do that. Right? That totally, we're gonna totally do that. That's gonna be so much fun.
All right,
Thank you
you.
for reminding me. That's cool of you, Thomas. Thank you for reminding me.
My pleasure. You guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the meetup. I'm really jealous you're meeting up with everybody. Have a great, keep
Well,
enjoying.
you're gonna have a great old time in the UK, man.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you
psyched.
know,
I'm
what we're
coming
just
back.
gonna do is pass the baton as soon as I get back. And what's scary is Fjord and Julian are gonna be at that UK meetup. So that means Brian's gonna be trying to run this website all himself. Oh, Jesus. This could be a tough week ahead.
Well, the good thing is the meetup happens over the weekend. So if anything happens, it doesn't matter
Okay.
because everyone's drunk anyway and not watching it.
Oh, and everybody, I don't know whether RAF needs some help, but I did see some talk in their UK Slack channel that RAF was feeling a little bit bummed and under the weather. So if you could reach out and give him some PMA, I think that would be cool of everybody. And I think you're going to see him at the UK meetup anyway. So
I'll give them a bear
okay.
hug.
Well done. Well said. Okay, I'm done. I'll be quiet. Have yourselves
Oh,
a great day, everybody. And of course, I'll be back in Vancouver tomorrow evening. And as of Thursday, it'll just be business as usual.
so you're coming back tomorrow evening, which means
Yeah.
are you going to be around for the brief tomorrow?
No, because that's actually when we have to go to the airport.
Okay,
So
I'll take
I will
care of.
not be around tomorrow.
I'm like 90% sure I'm going to be doing it tomorrow, so
Okay, cool.
I'll be
Awesome.
here. So you'll have
All right.
another fair edition.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bear. Great job as always.
My pleasure. All right, I'm going to sign off too, and hope everyone has a good day. Enjoy your time with Brian, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.